Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going on a bit of a special tour. We're not looking at a building or a city, but at the very architecture of life itself. We're going to dive deep into the fundamental building blocks that make up every single plant and animal you see. They're tissues.
So here's our roadmap. We'll start with how cells form these incredible teams. Then we'll check out the unique blueprints for plants, and then for animals, looking at everything from their outer coverings to the stuff that connects them internally. And finally, the tissues that let us move and think. Let's get started.
You know, if you were building a house, you wouldn't just use one giant block of concrete, right? Of course not. You'd use thousands of different bricks, each one with a specific job. Well, life works in exactly the same way. We're all built from trillions of cells, but they aren't all doing the same thing. They specialize. They form teams. And that team of specialized cells, that's what we call a tissue. It's really that simple. A group of similar cells all pulling in the same direction to get a very specific job done. This idea of teamwork is what lets life go from just a single cell to a complex organism like a tree, or like us. But this is where the design plans for plants and animals take two totally different paths, and it really all comes down to their lifestyle. You see, plants are stationary. They're all about structural support, standing tall against gravity, and making their own food. Animals, on the other hand, we're mobile. We need to move around to find food. So our tissues need to be built for movement and quick reactions. Different lives, different building materials. So, let's start our tour with the plant kingdom. For any plant, the main challenges are pretty straightforward, but also profound. How do you grow up towards the light? How do you stay strong? And how do you get water and food to every part of your body? The secret to all plant growth lies in this amazing stuff called meristematic tissue. You can pretty much think of it as the plant's growth engine. These are the young, energetic cells that are always dividing, always creating new cells. This is the construction site where the whole plant is built from. And these little growth engines are placed very strategically. You've got the apical meristems right at the tips of the roots and stems, always pushing them longer, reaching further down or higher up. Then, the lateral meristems are on the sides, making the plant thicker and wider. That's what makes a tree trunk grow fatter over the years. And then there's the intercalary meristem, which is why your grass just keeps growing back no matter how many times you mow it. So, what happens to all these new cells that the meristems create? Well, they grow up, they mature, they specialize, and they become what we call permanent tissue. Basically, they stop dividing and get assigned a specific job for the rest of their lives. They become the plant's specialized workforce. And this workforce has a few key departments. You've got parenchyma, kind of the jack of all trades, handling things like food storage. Then there's collenchyma, which provides flexible support. Think about the strings in a celery stick that let it bend without snapping. And then you have the heavy-duty stuff, sclerenchyma. These are actually dead cells with super thick walls that give the plant rigid strength, like the hard shell of a coconut or a walnut. Of course, a plant also needs a good plumbing system, and that's where two other complex tissues come in, xylem and phloem. Just think of xylem as a one-way water pipe, pulling water and minerals up from the roots to the leaves. Phloem, on the other hand, is like a two-way food delivery service, taking the sugary food made in the leaves and sending it to every other part of the plant that needs energy. It's a beautifully efficient system.
All right, let's switch gears and leave the quiet world of plants. It's time to cross over into the animal kingdom. And our tour here is going to start right on the surface, with the tissue that covers our bodies and lines our organs. Our first line of defense.
This is called epithelial tissue. And with this tissue, the design principle is incredibly elegant. The shape of the cell perfectly matches its job. So where you need stuff to pass through really easily, like oxygen in your lungs, the cells are super thin and flat. That's squamous. Where you need to make and secrete things, like in your glands, the cells are shaped like little cubes. And in your intestines, where you need to absorb as much as possible, the cells are tall and pillar-like to get more surface area. It's all about form perfectly following function. Okay, now we're going to move a little deeper inside the body. We're going to look at the tissue that literally holds us all together. This is probably the most diverse and widespread group of tissues we have, providing all of our internal structure.
And it's called connective tissue. Its real secret, its superpower, isn't just the cells themselves, but the stuff they're floating in, this intercellular matrix. And this matrix can be anything, from a liquid, like the plasma in our blood, to a flexible gel, like in cartilage, all the way to a rock-hard solid, like in our bones. This variety is what lets connective tissue do so many different jobs.
And just look at how diverse it is. It's the soft packing material between your organs. It's the fat tissue that stores energy. It forms the tough, rope-like tendons that connect muscle to bone, and the ligaments that connect bone to bone. And then you have the extremes. It's the liquid blood flowing in your veins, and the solid bone that makes up your skeleton. It truly is the body's ultimate multitasker.
Our final stop on this tour of animal tissues looks at the real action heroes. This is the dynamic duo responsible for literally everything we do and think. The muscles that create movement and the nerves that control it all.
First up, we have muscle tissue, which comes in 3 main flavors. You've got skeletal muscle, that's the one you control when you decide to lift something or take a walk. Then there's smooth muscle, which works automatically in the background, handling things like digestion. And finally, there's the one-of-a-kind cardiac muscle. It's found only in the heart, and it's built to just keep on beating, tirelessly, for your whole life. Each one is perfectly designed for its job. And the one in charge of all this, the conductor of the orchestra, that would be our final tissue. Nervous tissue. Think of this as the body's super-fast biological internet. It's made of these incredible cells called neurons, which act like living electrical wires, zapping signals all over the body to coordinate, well, everything.
And the way information moves through a neuron is a very simple one-way street. A signal comes in through the dendrites, which are like little antennas. The signal gets processed in the main cell body, and if it's important enough, a new electrical signal is fired down the long axon to the next cell in the line. It's an incredibly fast and efficient relay race. So we've gone on this deep dive, this tour of the microscopic architecture inside plants and animals. Let's step back for a second and look at the big picture. What's the one big idea we should take away from all of this? It's this right here. The single most important lesson is that structure dictates function, every single time. From the paper-thin shape of a lung cell built for gas exchange to the thick, hollow tubes of Xylem built to carry water, every single design we've looked at today is a perfect, elegant solution for a very specific problem.
And that really leaves us with one final, just awe-inspiring question to think about. We've looked at the microscopic bricks and the mortar, the wires and the pipes, but how in the world do they all come together to build the magnificent living world we see all around us, from a single tiny flower to a massive forest, from an ant to an elephant? That, right there, is the true magic of life's design. Thanks for joining me on this tour.